Thanks for the introduction. Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Waiting to get out and go get lunch, huh? All right. So I will not keep you here for much longer. One of the advantages of going three in a very esteemed panel like this is there is not much left to say. So I will keep my remarks very, very brief. As Ashok mentioned in his talk, he led Cadence before I took over from him. So pretty much everything I know I learned from him. And a lot of the credit for that goes to him. He was my teacher and mentor, and Mr. Dassaud is another gentleman that I respect a lot. And again, after the thoughts that they've shared, really there isn't too much more left to say. What I will do is I will recap a few of the points that they made that truly resonate with me, and add a couple of more things to the mix. So the first thing that I really want to say is that entrepreneurship, oftentimes we confuse that with the act of starting a new venture, typically the act of starting a new company. While definitely that is the conventional definition of what we associate with an entrepreneur, I think entrepreneurship is a mindset. It's what you believe here and what you feel here. And regardless of where in the world you are and what job you do, you can be an entrepreneur. You can be a social entrepreneur, you can be an entrepreneur as a student, you can be an entrepreneur as a faculty member, you can be an entrepreneur in the social sector. Everywhere there is an opportunity for entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is really a mindset. It's what you think here and how you feel here. It's an attitude, it's a mindset. So when I saw the topic of today's session, which is entrepreneurial leadership, mantra for corporate competitiveness, the juxtaposition at start got me a little confused, because we are trying to present as if entrepreneurial leadership is something very unique and different. To me, every leader has to be an entrepreneur, otherwise there can't be a good leader. Because leadership, again, as I said, it's really a mindset. And it's a mindset about thinking out of the box, stepping outside of the accepted norm and the boundaries that have been established. And every single individual has the opportunity to do that. So that is the first, and I would say one of the most important messages I would like to reinforce and leave you with. Second, there's a theme there called corporate competitiveness, right? I mean, it's all about how does entrepreneurship and leadership relate to corporate competitiveness. So Ashok talked about one of his role models being Jack Welch, and I have a very interesting quote here from Jack Welch that I would like to share with you, and it's around the theme of corporate competitiveness. He says, an organization's ability to learn and translate that learning into action rapidly is the ultimate competitive advantage. It's an extremely profound statement if you think about it, and it does have a direct implication to all of you. We operate in a world that is changing very rapidly, right? Oftentimes there's a phrase that you might have heard, change is the only constant. Have you heard that phrase before? Right? Change is the only constant. Well, welcome to the new world. That phrase is obsolete. The new buzzword is the constantly accelerating pace of change is the only constant. Right? It's not change, but the pace at which change constantly happens, and it overtakes us. In an environment that's constantly changing as rapidly as it is changing, our ability to stay on track with the changes, understand those changes and adapt to those changes is imperative. And that goes back to another example that was shared. I think Vishnu, you shared the example about Microsoft, right? And Bill Gates realizing that, oh man, worrying about the MS Windows and MS Office, he was about to miss the internet wave completely. And he reoriented the entire company to do that. That's an example of what I'm talking about. But it also has a profound example on every one of us as individuals, because we need to have the mindset of constantly looking at those changes that are happening around us and learning. So the reason why this is important is today you are students. Today your job is to learn. You go to a classroom, you spend 8 or 10 hours a day learning. You learn a curriculum that's been set for you by somebody else. But what I encourage you to do is when you walk out of college, when you graduate at the end of your program, remember that learning is a lifelong process. And the day you stop learning, you're dead. Learning is a lifelong process. You've got to keep learning your entire life. At the end of every day, every week, ask yourself the question, what have I learned this week? And if the answer is no, be extremely troubled by it. Some of the most successful CEOs in the world One I would like to name here is Larry Bossidy. Allied Signal is a company he led. He's ex-GE, one of the very famous, very successful CEOs. In an anecdote that he shared with some of his colleagues, he said every Sunday morning he gets up and spends 1 hour trying to recap what he learned that week. And he actually maintains a journal of everything he learned that week. This is not learning by going to a class. This is not learning by the conventional methods of learning. This is learning, lifelong learning. And any week that he's able to complete that exercise in less than 1 week, less than 1 hour, he's very troubled. He's troubled because he believes he has not learned enough that week. And he did that forever. He did that at the age of 40, he did that at the age of 50, he did that at the age of 60. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about lifelong learning. The opportunities to learn are there all the time. It's a mindset and attitude that you need to take with you. And remember, the day you stop learning, you're dead. Okay? So, entrepreneurship, leadership, corporate competitiveness, these are very closely tied to each other. It's all about the mindset. It's all about the mindset. It's all about the attitude. And it's entirely up to you how you take that forward. One more thought I would like to add, and again this ties to entrepreneurship as well as to leadership, and as a result extends to the theme of corporate competitiveness. While I did say that entrepreneurship is not just about the act of starting a new company, it's a mindset and can manifest itself anywhere. One of the key attributes of entrepreneurship is that they think and dream much beyond what is practically possible. They are not constrained in their thinking, their imagination, and their aspiration by any of the practical constraints of money or resources, right? They tend to imagine the impossible, and that's what drives them to doing creative and wonderful things. And to quote another business leader here, another very renowned thinker and leader, Clint Blanchard, he says, the key to successful leadership today is influence, not authority. The most successful business leaders, regardless of whether they're leading a Fortune 500 company or whatever, also lead by influence rather than leading by authority. The conventional command and control mechanisms of leading, where you give people orders and people execute your orders, are gone. The reason is because we lead in a knowledge, we live in a knowledge economy. We are expecting not just the hands and the minds, but we expect people to come with their hearts and souls to work. We expect people to give 110, 120, 130%. So the concept of holistic inspiration becomes important. The good old ways of leading, where you give orders and people execute, is gone. You've got to inspire people. You've got to appeal to their heart and their soul and get them to volunteer and choose to give 110 or 120%. And that's a key hallmark of leaders, and that also ties in very nicely to the theme of entrepreneurship. And the last, and not the least, I think it's something I'm sure you've heard of before, theme I'd like to leave you with is a quote from Vince Lombardi, who is a very famous professional American football coach in the US, and he says, contrary to the opinion of many people, leaders are not born. Leaders are made, and they are made by effort and hard work. And the reason I leave that is, at the end of the day, there is no shortcut in life. Hard work is important, no matter where you are, what stage of life you are, what field of work you are. So work hard, think big, think beyond what's reasonable, and follow your dreams. And you can do wonders. And I think that is something that you take to heart. You internalize it, build that as part of your attitude and your mindset, and it will help you be successful both today and tomorrow when you are the leaders of the corporations tomorrow.